2019. We start with roll call, please.
Mr. Cox?
Here.
Mr. Kella?
Here.
Mr. Moore?
Here.
Mr. Mystic? Mr. Rusinellis?
Here.
Mr. Dillon?
Here.
Ms. Fide?
Here.
Mr. Crompton?
Here.
Mr. Caparelli?
Here.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, the first item on our agenda is approval of the minutes. The first is the minutes from the November 7th, 2019 Plan Commission.
Can I get a motion for the 2007?
I motion to approve.
Second.
Roll call?
Mr. Cox?
Aye.
Mr. Crompton?
Aye.
Ms. Fide?
Aye.
Mr. Kella?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Mr. Rusinellis?
Aye.
Mr. Caparelli?
Aye.
Mr. Dillon?
Aye.
Okay, the second approval will be for the minutes from the November 21st, 2019 Plan Commission meeting.
Move to approve. I motion to approve. Oh, second.
Roll call?
Mr. Crompton?
Aye.
Ms. Fide?
Aye.
Mr. Kella?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Mr. Rusinellis?
Aye.
Mr. Caparelli?
Aye.
Mr. Cox?
Aye.
Mr. Dillon?
Aye.
Thank you. Next is citizens to be heard on agenda items. This section is for anyone wanting to speak regarding items listed on the agenda, except for items listed under public hearing. Anyone speaking on an agenda item is entitled to speak for a maximum of 4 minutes. We'll move on to old business public hearing. The first case, P-7-19, was withdrawn from the agenda. We have no items under old business, no public hearing. Under new business public hearing, our first item is PUD 8-19, and that is the reapproval of the preliminary planned unit development of Hiller Farm subdivision for an additional 5-year extension. The applicant is Marquette Companies. The status of the applicant is owner and developer. They are requesting a reapproval of a preliminary PUD plat to develop a mixed-use subdivision. Existing zoning is R1B, single-family residential, R4, multifamily residential, RB, restricted business, and B1, neighborhood business. Location is the northwest corner of Arbiter and Van Dyke. Size of the property is 290 acres. It is currently undeveloped. Surrounding land use and zoning to the north is agriculture. That's R1B, City of Joliet. To the south is agriculture, A1, Kendall County. To the east is residential, R1B and R4, Joliet. To the west is agriculture, R1B, Joliet. Under site history, the proposed annexation agreement, zoning classification, and preliminary PUD were approved by the mayor and city council at their meeting in February 2008. A 3-year extension of the preliminary PUD was approved by the mayor and city council at their meeting in March 2011, again in January 2013, and finally in January 2017. Under special information, the effective extension period of the preliminary PUD for Hiller Farm subdivision is ending, and the petitioner wishes to extend it for an additional 5-year period. According to the petitioner, further subdivision phases have not been recorded due to housing market conditions affecting the nation and the Joliet area. The proposed development and layout will remain the same as what was originally approved, which proposed the creation of 490 single-family lots on 256 acres, 126 townhome units on 26 acres, one 2.5-acre restricted business lot, and a 5-acre neighborhood business lot. The proposed uses will remain consistent with the Kendall County Comprehensive Plan, which was approved in November of 2004. As part of the original approval, a set of architectural guidelines were approved with minimum standards for future builders to adhere to, which will remain the same. Additional key elements of the original approval that will not change include the following: 2 6-acre park sites, that's lots 521 and 529, and a $255,837 cash contribution to be donated to the Joliet Park District. Landscape berms along Arbiter Road, decorative signage and wrought iron fencing, boulevard entryways with gatehouses and traffic circles, wet bottom naturalized storm detention ponds with aerator fountains, and 110 acres of open space devoted to naturalized areas and bike paths. Also, as per the original approval, Findley Road will be abandoned in lieu of a newly proposed internal roadway system. Abandonment will not take place until the new subdivision collector road is constructed and new driveways for adjacent horse farms are installed. All other concessions agreed to by the Marquette Company concerning the 2 adjacent horse farms and the farmhouse remain valid. All public improvements will be required as per the subdivision regulations and Public Works and Utilities Department. Streets within the subdivision will be publicly owned and maintained. Water and sewer connection fees, school donation fees to Manuka and Plainfield, school facilities fees, school transition fees, and developer impact fees will be required for this subdivision. And that concludes the staff report, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Do we have the petitioner? Here.
Yes, good evening. My name is John Philipchuk. I'm the attorney representing the ownership, the MPLIV 20 LLC. It's an Illinois limited liability company. My offices are at 111 East Jefferson in Naperville. Back before you again, as staff outlined in their report, we've taken a breath, but we haven't stopped breathing. It's been a long time. Part of the submittal that we gave to the city per this request, we had another study to update the conditions in the market by Metro Study. And we tried to hone in on that western edge of Joliet and basically a 5-mile radius. And so those numbers are the current conditions that we see. We still have a surplus of vacant lots already ready to go for building. We've spoken with some of the major builders to get their perspective on what they anticipate. Obviously, our goal is to have the land developed, so the sooner the better for us, but being realistic, this time we said, well, the numbers all reflect the fact that it looks like a 5-year window, so that's why we're requesting the extension for the 5 years. I know the biggest concern is, well, gee, what if our standards change? We've committed to the original plans, and in fact, Mr. Trisna, when we met with the Design Review Committee, suggested that there's been some spec changes to your code, like the widths and the thickness of bike paths, sidewalks. We've agreed to that. We've changed our plans, and we've resubmitted them, and they've looked at them, and they've said that it's acceptable. So we're keeping up with what you're doing, but we're just not ready to go to spend the money to develop lots with, final engineering and those kinds of things. So we would respectfully request that you would recommend to the city council that we be granted this 5-year extension. And if things happen sooner, well, that'd be wonderful. We'd be back to see you with the finals.
You're hoping to build within 5 years, would be nice.
We would certainly love to be building within a year or 2 years, but realistically, yes, we're looking at within that 5-year window. We think things are getting better. They're getting better, and they are getting better, but still not to the point where we've got that lot surplus down that we can go into that next phase.
I have just a quick question. I see you have this subdivided. Is there like a priority? I imagine you have a priority effort of like phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. Which one do you think would be the first one you do?
Obviously, there are Arbiter Road improvements that have to go in first, and that would be our main entrance to work off of the existing subdivisions that are already in the city. So
you're going to start
utility locations, that'll all do it.
Okay. Perfect. I make a motion to approve.
Is there any other questions first, or anybody else have any other questions?
Yeah, Kendall, how often do we go out on 5 years like this? Usually it's about 3, isn't it?
Yeah, usually it's about 3. I think this is the first one that I can remember that's requesting a 5-year period extension.
Does that cause any encumbrance on the city?
No, it really doesn't.
Okay.
Any other questions? Any questions from the public? I see none. Do I have a motion then? I had a motion for.
I motion to approve.
Second.
Call roll?
Ms. Beide?
Aye.
Mr. Kella?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Mr. Rosanellis?
Aye.
Mr. Caparelli?
Aye.
Mr. Cox?
Aye.
Mr. Crompton?
Aye.
Mr. Dillon?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Next item on the agenda is P-8-19, FP-6-19, and Z-5-19. P-8-19 is the preliminary plat of Centerpoint Intermodal Center at Joliet Subdivision, Phase 23. FP-6-19 is the final plat of Centerpoint Intermodal Center at Joliet Subdivision, Phase 23. And Z5-19 is zoning reclassification of 14.6 acres west of Brandon Road from ITA, that's the intermodal terminal zoning, to ITC, intermodal terminal industrial park. The applicant and owner is Centerpoint Joliet Terminal Railroad LLC. They're requesting approval of preliminary and final plat of subdivision and zoning reclassification to create 3 industrial lots for future development. Existing zoning again is ITA and ITC. The requested zoning is ITC, Intermodal Terminal Industrial Park. Location west of Schweitzer Road and Brandon Road. The size of the property is 131.6 acres, currently undeveloped. Surrounding land use and zoning, to the north is industrial IT, to the south is industrial IT, to the east is railroad right-of-way and also zoned IT, and to the west is industrial IT. Under site history, Centerpoint Joliet Terminal Railroad LLC has petitioned for multiple requests heard and approved by the Plan Commission and the City Council for their Centerpoint Intermodal Center at Joliet development. Most of the property was annexed, zoned IT, and approved with an annexation agreement as part of Phase 1 in December 2008. Phase 2, which included all of Centerpoint Holdings at the time, was approved in March 2010. Subsequent phases have been recorded from March 2011 through September 2019. Under special information, the petitioner is requesting approval of the Phase 23 preliminary and final plats and zoning reclassification in order to allow the 3-lot subdivision and continued industrial development of the Centerpoint Intermodal Center. The zoning request from ITA to ITC will allow the proposed warehouse use. Lot 49, which contains 126 acres, is proposed to include the 1.65 million square foot Harbor Freight warehouse facility. Lot 48, which is adjacent to the railroad right-of-way to the east, is 3 acres and will include berming and additional landscape material. Lot 47 is 2.4 acres and will include a proposed 66-foot roadway, drainage and public utility and drainage easement for the new alignment of Brandon Road. Access to the subject site will be from the new private Brandon Road right-of-way. The Schweitzer Road connection at the railroad is being vacated as part of a separate petition by the city. The proposed development plans will comply with the existing ITC zoning code and the landscape ordinance. All public improvements will be required as per the subdivision regulations and the requirements of the Public Works and Utilities Departments. Sewer and water connection, sewer surcharge fees, and development impact fees will be required as per the previously approved annexation agreement. And that concludes the staff report, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Do we have the petitioner here today?
Good afternoon, Tom Osterberger on behalf of Mike Hansen for the petitioner. The engineer is here. We're here to answer any questions you may have.
Any of the commissioners have any questions on this one? You know, I was out there just the other day. They're redoing a road out there, Schweitzer. Are they gonna reroute some of the the railroad tracks also?
So, well, none of the tracks are being physically moved, correct?
No, the trackage is outside the limits of this project. And that's under the purview of Union Pacific Railroad. So it's out of the purview of
This
Centerpoint.
plan.
Okay, just curious. Is there any questions from the public?
I got so much of the question, but a comment. My name is Greg Smith. I live at 19755 Schweitzer Road, which is the last house just west of the east of the railroad tracks. And I'm here to represent myself, my mother and father-in-law, who live next door, and my aunt and uncle who lives next door to them. This vacation is Schweitzer Road. We do recommend it. Hopefully it goes through. Even though the project is right on top of our house, they seem to address all of our issues as far as berming, noise. So long as they stand by their agreement with us, as the residents out there, we're good with it. But we definitely would like to see the closing of Schweitzer Road to try to improve the quality of life that we have out there. So we're the last ones, and they're coming on top of us. So if you can close the road, Mr. Triz is working on the quiet zone for us, so it's a little help for us out there. Other than that, that's all I got to say about it.
Okay.
Thank
Good.
you.
You're here. Thank you. Anyone else?
I do have a comment to make too. This will be subject to the ICC closing it.
Okay.
So if the ICC chooses not to, then we're not going to vacate.
Yeah, we can't do nothing.
That's the
Okay,
next
can I
case.
get a motion?
Mr. Chairman, if I could interrupt, I think the ICC is the next case. Yeah, the ICC closure is the next case. In this matter, however, if there is a recommendation for approval, staff would like it to be conditioned upon some documentation that's still owed to our Public Works, as well as the residence agreement. I think, Mr. Smith, is that something that you were looking for in writing?
Yes, I was.
Okay.
That was nothing personal, but last time the Centerpoint first came in, they had promised residents out here a lot, as far as keeping our quality. They never came to fruition. This wasn't enough. Once they changed management, changed hands, everybody forgot what they promised.
Well, I guess my question is to Mr. Osterberger, is how long will it take you? Should we table this till you get that information
No,
to us?
so,
How long is that going to take?
Mr. Hansen had talked to city staff and to Mr. Smith. I talked to Mr. Smith beforehand, and our request is that you move forward, subject to us reaching an agreement. There are they have some concerns, and we also owe a sightline review to make sure that they're satisfied. So I would ask that that it be approved subject to the recommendations that council only approves if they're satisfied with the neighbors, that the neighbors have reached an agreement with Centerpoint.
What timeline are you looking at on this?
To go to the next council meeting, so we're talking, we'd be reaching an agreement in, what is?
3
What
weeks.
council meeting with?
January 21st would be the council meeting.
In weeks.
And the staff wanted it, what kind of conditions did you want?
Conditional.
What were the,
Just had some minor adjustments to the plan. Some minor changes.
Okay.
so I believe those items can all be done before the
Correct,
council meeting on the
absolutely.
21st.
So if the approval, if staff gets what they need. Okay, we got a motion then for,
I would make a motion that it be approved if staff is on the conditions that the staff comes back to us and tells us that they are satisfied and that the residents are satisfied. I would then ask that the motion be carried.
Second.
wait a second, can I have a roll call then?
Mr. Kella?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Mr. Rosanellis?
Aye.
Mr. Caparelli?
Aye.
Mr. Cox?
Aye.
Mr. Crompton?
Aye.
Ms. Fide?
Aye.
Mr. Dillon?
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, the next item on the agenda is V-66-19, and that is the vacation of Schweitzer Road over the Union Pacific Railroad right-of-way tracks. Applicant in this matter is the City of Joliet. Requested action, vacation of public right-of-way for the continued development of Centerpoint Intermodal Industrial Park. Location, Schweitzer Road, a quarter mile west of Brandon Road. The right-of-way size to be vacated is 35.75 feet by 102.5 feet. Surrounding land use and zoning to the north is ITC and I-1 undeveloped in Joliet. To the south is ITC in Joliet, and portions are unincorporated Will County, undeveloped and single-family residential. To the east is I-1 Joliet and unincorporated Will County, undeveloped and single-family residential. To the west is ITC, undeveloped, City of Joliet. Under site history, Centerpoint Joliet Terminal Railroad, LLC, has petitioned for multiple requests heard and approved by the Plan Commission and the City Council for their Centerpoint Intermodal Center at Joliet Development. The majority of the property was annexed, zoned IT, and approved with an annexation agreement as part of Phase 1 in December 2008. Phase 2, which included all of Centerpoint Holdings at the time, was approved in March 2010. Subsequent phases have been recorded from March 2011 through September 2019. Under special information, the area in question consists of the full extent of the at-grade crossing of Schweitzer Road with the Union Pacific Railroad line. Approval of the proposed vacation will eliminate through traffic along Schweitzer Road and will result in the closure of the current at-grade crossing. Centerpoint will be constructing a truck turnaround on the east side of the vacated right-of-way prior to the closure. Approval of the proposed vacation of street right-of-way will allow for the continued development of Centerpoint Intermodal Industrial Park. Public Works and Public Utilities Departments are not opposed to the vacation request. NICOR has reported that they have pipelines in the subject area and request an easement be reserved. As of the writing of this staff report, no other utility companies have not reported back as to whether or not they may require an easement be reserved. And that concludes the staff report, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Kendall. Do we have the petitioner on hand?
City's a petitioner.
No cities, I'm gonna look. Shoot me. Any of the commissioners have any questions?
What about the easement? We heard anything back on from the pipeline?
No, not, as far as I know, we have not, except for the one that we already heard from. But I mean, that we would be subject to continued easement to allow those. You haven't heard
Questions
anything,
from
have
the
you?
public? A motion on the floor for V-6-19.
So
Move to
moved.
approve.
Second.
Call roll.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Mr. Rosanellis?
Aye.
Mr. Caparelli?
Aye.
Mr. Cox?
Aye.
Mr. Crompton?
Aye.
Ms. Fide?
Aye.
Mr. Kella?
Aye.
Mr. Dillon?
Aye.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is FP-7-19. That is the final plat of Cobalt Commercial Subdivision. The applicant in this matter is Cobalt LLC. They are the owner. They're requesting approval of a final plat of subdivision to develop a commercial subdivision. Existing zoning is B3 General Business. Location is the northeast corner of Route 59 and Theodore Street. Size of the property is 40 acres, currently undeveloped. Surrounding land use and zoning, to the north is residential R2, to the south is residential and commercial R2 and B3. To the east is agricultural, and that is A1 unincorporated Will County. To the west is commercial B3. Under site history, the annexation classification to B3 zoning, annexation agreement, and preliminary plat for Cobalt subdivision was approved by the City Council in September 2019. Special information. The final plat of Cobalt Commercial Subdivision is proposing a 9-lot subdivision in order to allow for a future commercial development. Lot sizes range from 1 acre to 15 acres. Lots 3 and 4 are being considered for future auto sales facilities, but plans have not been submitted as of the writing of this staff report. Lots 1, 2, 5, 6, 7, and 8 are buildable lots for future unknown commercial uses. Lot 9 is being considered for a future multifamily residential use. An additional special use permit and planned unit development would need to be submitted and approved to allow this use. The stormwater retention pond for the entire subdivision is being proposed on Lot 9 and will be protected by public utility and drainage easement. Terms within the approved annexation agreement address issues related to auto sales and accessory auto repairs for CarMax dealership on Lot 4. Similar building material, and that's brick and stone, and architectural design meeting our non-residential design standards, this development be compliant with those standards. Similar landscaping, berming, buffering, fencing, dumpster enclosure design, similar lighting plans, and similar monument and wall style signage for the subdivision. All public improvements, sewer and water connection fees, and the developer's impact fee will be required. Landscaping will be required as per ordinance and will include 20-foot wide berms along Route 59 and Theodore Street and a 15-foot wide landscape easement adjacent to the north property line as a buffer to the existing residential. A 6-foot high solid fence would also need to be installed adjacent to the residential. And that concludes the staff report, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Kendall. Is there a petitioner on hand?
Tom Osterberger again. This is Mr. Hansen's case. I think what Kendall said is accurate. We're hopeful we get this approved and ultimately get a dealer there for the city. All those discussions took place and I think are in order. I think this is what was expected.
Any questions from the commissioners?
Yeah, I had a quick question. I know that last time we addressed this, there were major concerns about the water detention tying into the subdivision north. Are there any concerns about that at this time?
Have there been further discussions? Why don't you come up?
The stormwater detention at the northeast corner there's designed in accordance with the city ordinances, so we're providing detention for the full 40 acres. Right now that area drains to that corner undetained, so we're picking it up. The water surface on our site is about 4.5 feet below existing grade, so we will be holding all of that water and then releasing it to the north.
Okay. My only concern about it is that I know that those subdivisions have had, I'm sure you've gotten correspondence from them, maybe the homeowners associations, about their concerns about the water detention, correct? And you've been in correspondence with them and kind of explained how it works?
Yes. Yeah, we did have I think we had a neighborhood meeting. Mr. Hansen had a neighborhood meeting with the residents there, and so that was discussed.
Okay.
Any other questions?
When do you think this project will be going?
Well, I think it's driven by the main user, and I know a little bit about that contract. They got some time to make sure that they can meet Joliet's expectations and.
With the dealership?
Yeah, so hopefully months.
Anyone else?
Oh, I just want to clarify, that would be lot 4? Or lot 3?
Correct.
4, okay.
Or is for the car dealership? We have a motion from,
So moved.
Oh, Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry. Again, any recommendation for approval should be conditioned upon revisions per Public Works.
It's not been done yet, or?
They're still working on some revisions.
Oh, absolutely. Okay. Motion pending that staff has approved it later on with the revisions.
So-
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second. Roll call.
Mr. Caparelli?
Aye.
Mr. Cox?
Aye.
Mr. Crompton?
Aye.
Ms. Bidey?
Aye.
Mr. Kella?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Mr. Rosanelli?
Aye.
Mr. Dillon?
Aye.
Thank you.
If I can for a minute, Kendall, you know, I would just like to say something. I feel uncomfortable. This stuff's supposed to be all sewed up by the time it
I would
comes
think
up
so
to
too,
us.
Jim. I don't understand
And
that.
I don't understand why we have to we're approving stuff on conditions, and it's all of a sudden we gotta rush through it, and you know, hey, you know, that planning should have taken, and approvals with the various staff members should be done before it comes here. So I'm leery of, in the future, doing any of this stuff based on a conditional approval by the staff. That's how I view it. I don't know.
Are you making a motion that in the future that all this is approved ahead of time by the staff
I do.
before they come here? Do we have a
Before it
second
comes
on
here.
that?
I'll second it.
Do we have roll call? That's a serious thing. It is a serious thing that we set the rule down that the staff needs to be done and finalized before it comes to us. So they're not underneath the gun.
Yeah, I get that. My only concern is like the last one, we were conditional on some documents. I mean, there's going to be different circumstances for every case. So can we, I mean, I don't know if specifically voting, I mean, because everything's going to be a little bit different.
Yeah,
But if we make it a hard line, rule,
But here's
That's my
the
concern.
problem, though, is they should already have that stuff settled before it comes to us. It shouldn't come, no matter what the problem is, there's all written documentation that it needs to be done. It's not a question of a verbal thing. All this stuff is going to be reduced in writing and should have already been submitted to
Public
the
Works,
staff
whoever they need
and
to be.
Public Works, whoever it needs to be before it comes to us for our approval. And instead, it's, well, we approved it. So now you could go back and say,
Yeah.
hey, the zoning commission approved it. You should just
Yeah.
agree to this.
My-
'cause we
my
already
only
got an
condition-
approval. You're holding it up. And I think that puts these
Yeah.
guys in a bad position and saying that, hey, the zoning commission, you're holding it up now,
Yeah.
not the zoning commission.
And I mean, I agree to an extent, but I think if we say if there's nothing that's, if we say that everything has to be continuing finance and we vote on that, that's different than like, oh, they don't have this one small document that's pretty insignificant. So if we were to do this, I'm just saying that maybe we should make it contingent that Public Works, or we be specific on what it is we're talking about, and just saying instead of
I think
everything
that-
has to be submitted.
I do think that everything should have to be submitted. I don't think that there should, because any exception is going to become the rule. And who determines what's minuscule or not at that particular given time? So either you come to the zoning commission, you've done all your homework, you got everything ready to go, and you're asking for our approval. Not a conditional approval, but a approval. Because when it goes to the city council, it should already be, they don't say to them, hey, pass this ordinance conditionally. You either kind of, you have it together or you don't.
Yeah, I've always looked at the voting commission. I mean, and Marty would probably be able to chime in on this, but as us doing recommendations, we're doing things more broadly than specifically what would be at the city council being voted on as rule of law, right? I mean, is this pretty outstanding that we would make a motion that everything has to be documented immediately?
I think what you're
mean,
doing is just kind of setting a policy for yourself.
Okay.
Right. But I
Just setting the policy, and there was a motion, and there was a second, so it has to be voted on.
Probably wouldn't be as paramount if it didn't happen, two of them right in a row tonight,
Yeah.
Yeah.
or then it's becoming a trend.
right, yes, exactly.
Well, if I could just add a little bit of context, this is not an unusual request. I think I've been with the city for probably 25, 26 years, and it's not uncommon that there are conditional approvals going forward as long as things are tightened up before it goes to city council. Now, if you would like to direct staff to work with petitioners to have these things buttoned up before they come to you, we can work on that. But there are some items that I think it would be appropriate to have conditional approval on. I think these are minor revisions that we're looking for. And again, it's not unusual. It's just that I think it may be coming up for the first time with this particular board.
Well, I think they should be buttoned up. A lot of it should be buttoned up.
I agree. I mean, should be the final stop. You shouldn't, why are you bringing it to us if it isn't already done? Why are you bringing it, why are you saying, okay, well, we'll get it past you and then we'll get it done by the time it goes to the city council? I think that's not the function here. I think you
Not the way
come
it's supposed to
here,
be.
we either approve the zoning as presented or we don't. And I think that's how it should go forward, not, and, well, maybe we can, or I promise, or I'm gonna. It's either kind of when it comes here, it's ready for approval, or it's not. And that's how I look at it. So.
I don't see that if I align myself. Does anybody else get a comment on it?
No, well, I mean, the conditional approval, we've been doing it for years.
Yeah.
You know, and a lot of times it's because of financing, you know, sometimes they need the approval for financing, but then they still have to get it done before it goes to council, because the council has final approval. So, you know, all we're doing is saying yay or nay that it's okay to go, but, you know, if you got a few minor things, then fine. You know, those will be taken care of before it gets to council. But then, you know, you may have funding behind it that needs to be done by the end of the month. And if we say no, then you gotta go another month and may cost, you know, developer more money.
I mean, I don't know. Go ahead, Jason.
I agree. I mean, as long as I've been here, there's always been conditional approvals. I agree with John on the, like I said, it's going to cost developers more to come back to bring. I'm sure attorneys and engineers come for free, but you know, there's costs involved, and you know, I think, you know, I'd rather see the developments move as quickly as possible, personally.
I would say that I think if we weren't working on recommendation, if we were working as like this is the final say, conditional obviously shouldn't be, but I think because we're giving recommendation to city council, I think the general ideas that we're giving is what we're here for. Not to know specific details about, you know, where the utility lines are going to be coming in, so.
Well, I don't know, but I mean, here you have an individual here who's worried about his house. He's been given representations. He said he was lied to before based on a conditional, and nothing got forward, and it went to the city council because they couldn't work out the conditional aspect of it, and then they approved it. Well, I think that buck should have stopped here before it got there, because we have no guarantee that those. What are those conditions? They haven't worked out those matters yet. So if he comes back here and says I'm not satisfied, right now he's satisfied because of the representations that have been made, but he said that that's not worked out previously. How do we know that doesn't have anything to do with banking? That doesn't have anything. That has to do with the citizens of the city.
Yeah, but if we take away all conditional, then that's included with all conditional items.
I'm just saying that. So what time do we say, yeah, okay, or yeah, nay, or whatever? And you know, I'd rather have it when it comes here that it's ready to go, so that we don't have the issue where somebody goes forward, you approve something conditionally, and then it goes to the city council. It wasn't worked out in the most where something we may have not approved, and it's just unfair.
Mr. Chairman, could I offer up a way forward on this? Staff, when we are aware of conditional approval request, could put it in writing in terms of what we are still owed in terms of revisions. That would be made known to this body before the vote is taken. If at that time, as a body, there's the feeling that this is not ready, you do have the ability to table. But we would do as good a job as we can to let you know what those conditions are, if they're minor. If we feel that these things can be addressed before they go on to city council.
Ahead of time.
And then that way, you've got better information about what these revisions are. And again, you do have the ability to table.
Yeah.
I feel like it's a good compromise.
Marty, correct me if I'm wrong. Anytime this committee votes on something, when they vote on something, all right, basically, once it's passed here,
Right.
it goes to council, and they always vote, they have the final vote.
Yes.
Now, correct me so all the commissioners do understand, because it's serious. If it doesn't pass here for some reason, it's a negative vote. It takes a 2/3 vote on the council to still oversee that.
Generally, yes.
So now it's not a simple vote, but now you have to have the majority of the majority of the
Supermajority.
council people to pass everything.
Yes.
And that's the difference. That's the key of what this council actually is. When you guys don't
I
agree with
underst-
something,
yeah.
it changes the whole format of government on the city council level.
I agree with that. I'm just saying things can change, and like a personal agreement, a personal contract with a resident is completely different than they haven't paid their library fee or whatever, and that's conditional. So that's what I'm saying. I don't think we can bucket everything into the same bucket.
I think if it's just a small issue like that, that's one thing. But when you're talking developers and all this, I mean, this is stuff should be.
Well, no, see, I mean, you
Done.
just made the point yourself. A small issue to a big issue. No, we're saying all issues. So I think it's a great compromise of what Kendall has said, and we've already, you said it yourself. We've already made a second motion to vote on making all all conditionals not. So I think we should probably vote on that, and then maybe do a second vote depending on that vote if
Would it be
going
possible
forward
to
with.
say that all the conditions must be met by the next city council meeting, where it's up for vote? If not, it's gotta come back to the zoning, to all party satisfaction. So it can't go before the city council if you haven't gotten if it hasn't been resolved by then, it's gotta come back here. I don't think that.
You wish to amend it to say that instead.
Right, that if it hasn't been resolved by the next city council meeting, then it has to come back to the zoning commission. Right? Can we do that, Marty? Can we do that?
In theory, wouldn't have it already been resolved?
It's supposed to, that's what we're trying to say, is
Which we don't
if it
get, we
has,
only meet
no
once a
worries.
month, basically, so
Right.
you're gonna have to wait another month then.
Right.
Right.
Unless you call it a special meeting.
That is we call a special meeting, yeah. We're gonna be calling a lot of special meetings. But we don't have to call a special meeting, that's
That's right.
a special meeting is usually called by, if you read that, everybody was passed one of those rule books, kind of small thing. 4 of you can ask for a special meeting, or I could ask for a special meeting, he can ask for a special meeting if I wasn't thing. That's how you're gonna get a special meeting. If they don't get their ducks in a row, you're not gonna automatically have a special meeting unless 4 of you say, we'll have a special meeting for you.
I think it forces people to get their ducks in a row then before they get, so they say, okay, listen.
I think so.
I guess
Usually I would always have to.
I don't think that's.
Mr. Chairman, if I could just respond to that. I believe that would be a rule change or a policy change that's not really on this agenda. If that's something that this body would want to consider, we would have to advertise that, bring it back next
An Open
month
Meeting Act
as
issue?
a rule change, and
Well,
then we could incorporate it if it's approved by
Okay,
this.
by problem, we have to take a vote on the thing. But we could turn around and put this at the top of the list of the agenda for next meeting for an open discussion and rules given to us of all this stuff.
Yes.
And so it's in writing.
Yeah, we could bring it back as a rule change to be voted on.
We can have different options. I don't think that we're looking at any particular thing. Yeah, and I'm just saying that I think we should have Ms. Faraday's option as something as a point of discussion, my option, John's option, and anybody who has input on the committee for the rule change. And maybe we can war game that a little bit and
Sure.
come up with
I think
a course
that's,
of action.
yeah, I think, yeah.
Sure. Okay.
But we
What
have
was that?
we have a motion and a second on the floor unless you rescind
Well, we
your
can't do
motion.
that,
And
though,
rescind
yeah.
your motion, we have to vote on it. So
We have to rescind the motion.
you have, only
Right.
he can and he can.
Yes.
I rescind my motion.
I stand by his.
Okay, then we don't have to vote on it today then on that one.
This is exciting, yeah.
Okay. I think there was a motion in order for,
Yeah, now
We
we gotta go
voted.
back to having a motion. Do I have a motion at this time to approve this?
No, we voted on that already, didn't
Did
we?
we?
We voted,
We
yeah.
voted to approve. I
We
wouldn't
voted to
do
approve
that
and then that
today.
actually
did?
came
We
out.
did approve?
Yep.
Yeah, I don't think
Yeah,
it's
I lost
fair.
track of
I
all
don't think
that.
it's fair today
Bye.
to do that to,
That was a close one for you guys today then.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You
that-
guys
it
really
wouldn't be
stayed for
right
your money's
to-
worth there.
to do that to the folks here today.
okay. We'll move on. Next item on the agenda, and I apologize, this is FP-8-19. That was withdrawn, if there's anyone in the audience here for the final plat of Joliet Logistics Park subdivision Phase 2. That was withdrawn from the agenda. Next item on the agenda is Z0419, and that is an ordinance amending sections 47 47-12.2A and 47-13.2A of the City of Joliet zoning ordinance, adding auto service stations as a special use in the B2 and B3 districts. Planning staff respectfully request that this petition be tabled to the January 16th, 2020 Plan Commission meeting. The legal notice for the public hearing must be updated to also include an amendment to Section 47-11.1, Paragraph C of the City of Joliet zoning ordinance, removing automobile service stations as a permitted use in the B1 Neighborhood Business District. So we will bring that back before you next month. Next item on the agenda, oh, I'm sorry, we have to vote on
To vote
it.
on that.
Yeah, do I have a motion for
Motion to
table?
table.
Second.
Roll call?
Mr. Cox?
Aye.
Mr. Crompton?
Aye.
Ms. Fiding?
Aye.
Mr. Kella?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Mr. Roosevelt?
Aye.
Mr. Caparelli?
Aye.
Mr. Dillon?
Aye for ZO-4-19 table.
Okay. So we're all set with,
We're all set with that. You can go.
okay. New business, no public hearing. There are no items. There are no items under study session. There are no items under old or new business, not for final action or recommendation from the staff. Does the commission have any items? Seeing none, we will go to public comments. This section is for anyone wanting to speak regarding non-agenda items and are allowed a maximum of 4 minutes.
I am Terry Wilhelmy from Jackson Township, Elwood. And the ones that were tabled tonight, the P7-19, and then the other one, that FP819, I want to note it because of this there's no storm sewers out there. We're going to have nothing but problems with water, because I live on a farm directly across from this. We have problems with the Pasquinelli subdivisions. So I want to note that these engineers and architects, I hope, get together and do this right, because otherwise they'll flood me out, which they flood 3 to 5 acres of mine already from the subdivision. So I live on a family farm for years out there. So I'm going to be at every meeting trying to keep on top of this.
I'm sorry, was that for Peace -7-19?
Yes, the
And that
one
was
that was
withdrawn,
tabled
right?
first.
So that we don't know if that's coming back up.
Or how about the FP8-19?
FP8-19 too.
It's all from
Yeah.
North of Green Road and
North
east of
Green.
53.
Yeah, both of those were withdrawn, not tabled, so
Okay.
let's see if they have any more information on it.
I think it was tabled last month, and
And now it's withdrawn.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure if it comes
Yeah, I don't
back
think we
up,
have any
you're
new
kind of
info on
aware
it.
of this.
Yeah, we're not sure when these will be coming back.
Okay.
Just keep in touch with staff here.
Yeah, we get the letter at home.
Okay.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Is there a motion for adjournment?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Working on a plan to get iPads for the board.
Oh, God, like a little
And
kid.
that way, you don't have to be bothered with trying to print out large documents, and you can have those with you here at the meeting.
We're getting fancy, Mr.
So
Dan.
more information in the future on the iPads.
Yeah, very nice.